I think that that was brought out briefly by our first speaker. Agriculture is huge in San Joaquin County, and that's maybe one of the top reasons that it shouldn't be included in the district that it's currently in, which crosses over the Altamont. 90% of the land in San Joaquin County is agricultural. Handed in a map to that effect, and it doesn't allow for a neat urban-rural split. All of San Joaquin County is a community, and there are farmlands within incorporated areas. You could be in a residential area, and across the street is a cherry orchard or a vineyard. So I think, as all the speakers today have said, the first task for this commission should be to keep San Joaquin County whole to the extent possible. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Colin. Any questions? Thank you for being with us tonight. All right, number 8. You decline? Okay. Number 9.
Good afternoon. This is the downside of speaking so late in the game. A lot of the thunder's been taken, and I appreciate the fact that a lot of people from San Joaquin are here to speak about this. So I'll just go through what I have, and we can take it from there. My name is Steve Lopez. I'm a long-life resident of San Joaquin County and a business representative for the Operating Engineers Local Union Number 3. Now, my numbers are from 2008 Census Bureau, so bear with me. According to the 2008 census numbers, Stanislaus County has a population of 510,694, which is roughly 1.25% of the state's population. Yet this county is currently represented by 3 different assembly districts: 8017, 8025, and 8026. 2 Senate districts, SD12 and SD14. 2 congressional districts, CD18 and CD19. These legislative lines have split cities, neighborhoods, and even neighbors. Prime example, line splitting of a city in 2, Rosewood Avenue in Modesto. At 1143 Rose Avenue, that's in the 18th Congressional District. 1140 Rose Avenue is in the 19th Congressional District. Now, students attending Rose Avenue Elementary School in Modesto can live across the street but live in a different district, congressional district. In San Joaquin County, the picture gets even a little more grim. And again, these are 2008 census numbers. The county's population at that time was 772,388. And not a single legislator, federal legislator, or state that lives in the county. The 11th Congressional District is both a Bay Area and Central Valley seat. This congressional district represents individuals with incomes ranging from, again, this is 2000 census numbers, 36,000 in Stockton per year, and 96,000 in San Ramon. There's no logic to that. In Stockton, while traveling east in a 10,000-foot long stretch of the Delta Inlet on the left side of the water, the congressional districts changed 3 times. Now, the population now will probably get closer to the numbers that you need. If you want to find more population, maybe just do a happy medium, a little bit south, a little bit north. You know, not get too radical the way it is now. It's just there's no logic to it. Again, as it stands now, you can have members in Congress who might share a different philosophy, carrying the message of a district that's not consistent. By using natural boundaries like rivers, major highways, etc., just like it's been done in the past to divide the districts. This will ensure the elimination of multiple philosophies within a neighborhood. As a voter of San Joaquin County and labor representative, I ask that San Joaquin County be given 1 congressional seat, 1 Senate seat, and 2 assembly seats. Again, the messages, we want a consistent message going back to represent the folks that live here in San Joaquin County.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Any questions? Thank you for submitting that information. Thank you. All right, number 10.
Hi, and thank you. I am Lola Ball. I am a Merced citizen. And today, rather than inputting information, I'm here to ask the Commission to clarify an issue. The law creating this commission is quite specific. Section 8253 of the Government Code provides the Commission shall receive or require, that at least one of the legal counsels hired by the Commission has demonstrated extensive experience and expertise in implementation and enforcement of the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. Mr. Gibson Dunn is not qualified based on that government code, since he lacks that federal experience and in addition is also associated with a lobbying firm.
Yes, Ms.
Can I finish? Is the Gibson Dunn contract still on hold?
Ms. Bo, yeah.
May I continue?
You can go ahead, yes, but this is an input hearing on...
Well, it's input for us as well. Or will you be accepting new bids to engage a law firm that meets the federal criteria and is not a lobbying firm?
Just to announce that we are under contract with Gibson Dunn, so... Okay. Can we have our next speaker, please? Number 11.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ken Vogel. I'm a county supervisor from San Joaquin County, representing the 4th District, which is basically all of North County and all the East County. I just want to respectfully call your attention to the resolution by the Board of Supervisors in San Joaquin County that I hope that you have received by now. It was done the end of March, requesting the county's inclusion whole in 1 congressional, 1 state senate, and not more than 2 assembly districts. I think from the people you've heard today, you can know the interest in San Joaquin County is how we are divided as such. Right now we are in 4 assembly, 2 state senate, 2 congressional, and we are associated with 14 other counties in those divisions, including Merced and some in the East Bay. Listening to the testimony, the congressional part, the state senate part may be doable. The assembly, the question of dividing the lines, I have heard 3 different suggestions. I have 2 other observations. The observations, one observation is that if we're looking to include San Joaquin County with another county in a part of another county in an assembly district, we may have more in common with the southern part of Sacramento County, Galt, in that area, Grant Line Road, the agricultural areas. Secondly, I would just call your attention to the fact, as other people have, San Joaquin County has a very viable agricultural industry, $2 billion. That itself is a community of interest. So whatever you can look at that will maintain those almost all together in 1 assembly district would be helpful. The other observation is eastern San Joaquin County may have more in common and will have more in common with the mountain counties of Amador and Calaveras than it would have any counties to the west of San Joaquin County. As far as division of assembly districts, I have heard 3 different suggestions. I'm not advocating any one of them, but these are what I've heard. Since the county is going to have to be divided in some way. One is the Calaveras River from the western boundary of San Joaquin County through the city of Stockton to the eastern boundary. The other one is donutting out the metropolitan Stockton area and the cities associated with into 1 assembly district, and the remainder of the county, including most of the agricultural areas, in another. Another one is the Calaveras River through Stockton to Highway 99 and basically down Highway 99 to Stanislaus County. That is the division. Again, I'm not advocating one of those. I'm just repeating some of the suggestions that I've heard. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer.
Yes, Ms. Silkins-Weber.
Earlier, a speaker had mentioned that I believe the agriculture and I think maybe some of the houses, they had mentioned something about cherry, I think farm on orchard on one side, but then homes on another. But yet you've made a recommendation that sounds as if it's easier to divide agricultural from the metropolitan. So can you give me a better picture as to, are we talking about more commingling of agricultural areas with rural and, residential and metro, or is there significant dividing?
You will have a problem trying to completely divide agriculture from residential areas. I'm a cherry grower myself, and I represent Murata, so I can almost take you to that place. You will have areas where you have residential and you have farming right across the street. You will not be able to have that community of interest of agriculture completely divorced from the metropolitan areas. What I was suggested to me was just a way to get a lot of the agriculture in one area, not necessarily all of it. You're going to have a mixture, whichever way you go.
Yes.
Commissioner
Ms.
Aguirre,
Anderson.
could we have the witness repeat those three proposals again, please, a little bit slower?
Okay.
Yes.
And again,
Well, we're working on it, but we just need to hear it a little bit slower, please.
and again, I will go slower. And again, I am emphasizing I'm not proposing these. These were suggested to me. One being the point of the Calaveras River at the western part of San Joaquin County. That's in the Delta. That would have to be differentiated. Then all the way through.
Are we identifying on the map the area that you're talking about?
The area should be a little bit further south of there. Then the Calaveras River flows all the way through Stockton, and then flows all the way to the eastern boundary of San Joaquin County. It would divide Stockton about 40%, 60%. The other one that I had suggested to me, and I told this was done in metropolitan Sacramento, is a donut type configuration which would take metropolitan Stockton, which, by the way, the population of Stockton does not include metropolitan Stockton, because a lot of the city of Stockton is county, not city. So you have the whole metropolitan Stockton, and I would think you'd have to have Lathrop and Manteca and so forth in there in one assembly district. That is a donutting type proposal that I've heard. The other one is a modification of the first one, which would take the confluence of this Calaveras River from the western boundary through the city of Stockton. And I don't think the person's thought this out much, but it was down all the way down 99 to Stanislaus County. That would be a division two. That would give a lot of Stockton, put Stockton in with the northern part of the county and with the southern part of the county. And again, I'm not advocating for either any of those three, but those were the ones that I was suggested. And since I heard the question, I thought I would bring that forward.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Julio.
Maybe you could speak briefly about the eastern part of the county and where it starts to get into the foothills, and maybe if there's some distinctions of how those individuals in the eastern part of the county, if they identify more with the western metropolitan part, the agriculture part, or more into the foothills. And
in the eastern part of the county, which, by the way, that's where I live, in the Linden area, you can see out there, not in the actual community, but in the farm areas, there is not necessarily identification with the metropolitan areas. For example, from Stockton and further to the east, there is, of course, there's connections. Everybody shops everywhere in different places. But the agriculture in the southern part of Sacramento County, or the agriculture in Calaveras and Amador counties, there's a lot of vineyards in eastern San Joaquin County. There's a growing number of vineyards in Calaveras and Amador counties. That agriculture gives us some connection. Does that answer your question?
I think it's helpful, too, to know that as you move into Calaveras County, you start going into the foothills, and it's a whole other geography versus the valley floor that's predominant.
Yes, we do have the start of the foothills, as you're well aware, in San Joaquin County, too.
Any questions? Ms. Henderson, does that do it?
Did I speak slow enough? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 12, please.
Hello, Commission. My name is Jack Mobley. I've got a unique perspective. Not only am I a Mercedian, but I'm a former and current candidate for Assembly. Ran for the 17th the last few times. The Merced County and the area of the valley south of Stockton seems as though, to me, that when I was running up and down trying to get votes, that it's a different sort of person that lives down here. It's a lot more tight-knit. Merced County particularly is a place where if you haven't been here 2 and 3 generations, you're a stranger. And it's a place where you don't talk about anybody because you're probably talking to their brother or their sister. So it's a different sort of feel than Stockton is, and I wholly support divorcing Merced County from Stockton and from the upper reaches of the valley. If you were going to draw the lines, naturally Merced County needs to remain whole, but I would think that a southern Stanislaus County, or I don't know the populations of those counties, but I would think a slice of southern Stanislaus County and Merced County, or maybe Merced County to the east into the foothills would be a grouping of like-minded individuals, and probably a pretty cohesive assembly district. For a Senate district, I would think that between Stanislaus County, Merced County, and Madera County, that would have enough population to be a Senate district. Perhaps it may be too many, but I don't know. This area is one that, in trying to go to Stockton, southern Stockton, and Tracy, and talk to those people, and their issues are completely different than down here. You go up there, and they're saying you better not build that canal. And you come down here, and they say you better build that canal to get the water down here. So, in trying to represent and give complete representation to the citizens in a district, it seems as though they should be grouped ideologically, and with the 17th being gerrymandered the way it is up into southern Stockton, connected by about 9,000 votes in Stanislaus County, it just doesn't make any sense. But a combination of Stanislaus County, Merced County, Madera County, perhaps over to the east, and Mariposa County makes all kinds of sense. So thank you.
Questions?
Can we show the population for those two suggested? Oh, sorry. You said that you didn't know what population would be involved in those two possibilities, and maybe we can get our experts to show us what the population is in that line that you drew.
Was that Stanislaus, Merced, and Madera?
Okay, that's 500 and something thousand. If you had a line south of Modesto, probably including Merced, and then maybe even Mariposa County, you'd probably get close to and naturally not all of Stanislaus County, probably north of Tracy. North of Turlock. I would think that you would get close to that magic $400,000 figure, 400,000 person figure, and have a cohesive ideological group of people. So or maybe even Merced into Madera County would make a good group.
So, yes. Commissioners, in case you can't read, it's a little bit hard on the screen. Stanislaus, Merced, and Mariposa County together is 788,497.
Can you add Madera, please, Ms. Henderson?
Just a moment.
It looks maybe Merced, Mariposa, and Madera would get close to that magic figure.
Okay, that's the selected area now, which is Stanislaus, Merced, and Madera, is 921,111. Adding Mariposa, we go up to 939,362.
Okay, yes, Mr. Julio.
Thank you. I'm just curious into your why you didn't include Fresno County at all, being as how Fresno gets close to Merced, and
well, you could pick up.
I know the urban part is a little further south, but I just want to see your input as to why you think it should or should not be a part of what you're talking about in regional sense.
I wouldn't say that Fresno County would be any different.
Okay.
There'd be the same people. I was just trying to keep the counties, contiguous and whole. And if Merced, Madera County, you're up to 405,000. You kick in Mariposa County, and you're close to that magic figure.
So you kind of like the idea of going south and maybe east versus north. That's your preference?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jack. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Daniels Brown, and I live here in Merced County. a homeschool mom, and I am also the chairperson for the Merced County Republican Party Central Committee. And I am here this afternoon, and I want to reiterate a lot of the things that have already been said. First and foremost, I agree with moving that boundary south and not having parts of Stockton and San Joaquin County as part of our boundary areas, especially when we're talking about the congressional and assembly districts as well. And as I was looking at the map and hearing everyone speak, a good area that I thought would be useful for that is that if you were to look at, go up 99 right until you got to about Highway 120 when you're getting into that area. I think that would be a logical boundary to perhaps look at when you're looking at these districts. And I also support going south, somewhat into the Fresno area. One of the other speakers brought up a very interesting point, which goes to the cohesiveness of communities, and that's where we get our media from. That is so vitally important, I believe, because we want to be able to hear from our representatives, and we want our news to be the same. What's same in this area is different up north in Stockton. And I know that both areas do share a tremendous amount of agricultural interests, but I would say that Stockton is probably much more industrial and much more urban than what we are in this area as well. In the minute that I have remaining, I would also like to bring up our state Senate districting areas. As I understand now, we go into Monterey and Monterey County, and the coast has absolutely nothing to do with the valley, and that needs to be looked at as well. And I don't think anybody has brought that up throughout today's time. I'm sorry I can't give you a remedy for that. I will be happy to sit down and think of a remedy and write you a letter about that because I'm all about solutions. So that is the one thing that I really do think that you need to look at as well is changing that district line for the state Senate as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, Ms. Brown, let me encourage you to do just what you said.
I will.
Because we want to continue to receive input from California.
Thank you so much.
All right. Questions?
Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Speaker number 14. Number 15.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Marcus. I live in Bootjack, California, which is a designated census area about 40 miles from here and an hour's drive, depending on whether or not the highway patrol is working today. I've lived in California all over the state. I'm a seventh-generation Californian. I've lived as far north as Wairika and as far south as San Diego. I'm presently working as a substitute teacher at Mariposa County High School, which is our only high school in the county. Some of our students ride a bus for more than an hour each day, both ways, to get to school. We have one stoplight in Mariposa County, which those of you traveling to Yosemite get to enjoy, and it's a temporary measure. There are 18,000 of us in Mariposa County, and in Bootjack, where I live, there is about 10% of that population, about 1,800. My point with sharing all that with you is, alone, we have very little political clout, as can be imagined. As the assembly candidate just mentioned, we tend to just be lopped off and joined into other communities. I'm here today to ask the Commission to consider whether the western foothill and mountain communities of the central Sierra Nevada mountains have more in common with each other than they do with the Central Valley communities that they have been typically drawn into over the years in previous redistricting exercises. I know this came up briefly during the Yuba Sutter meeting because I watched that video, and I'd like to expand on this idea just a little bit. I'd like to suggest that those sparsely populated, the group of small towns stretching roughly from El Dorado County down through all of the eastern counties that are on this side of the Sierras, not including Mono and Inyo, as well as the eastern halves of Mariposa and Madera County, may form a contiguous community of interest worth considering. During the 2010 census, I was a field operations supervisor doing quality control, and I had an opportunity to travel into a lot of Mariposa County and eastern Madera County and really got a feel for what is an entirely different part of this area. Once the foothills begin, you are dealing with a other than everybody knows everybody, which I didn't know they had in Merced. You get up in Mariposa, of course, you're getting in a very unique area. We don't have farmland up there, and of course, it's our water that they want down here. Not to disparage anybody's interests, I do want to say that when conflicts come up, when disparate or divergent interests come up, and our representatives are beholden to the Valley communities, we are a minority by default by the way the lines are drawn. My suggestion is a rough combination, and I gave a couple maps to Denise, and I guess they can pull it up, is that if we were to consider forming an assembly district that began with El Dorado, Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Mariposa counties, plus, I guess I included Mariposa, plus the eastern half of Madera, eastern half of Fresno beginning at the foothills, and possibly into Tulare. Rough numbers I was able to come up with last night, you can get your count for your assembly district. I was able to come up with 375,000 using just county numbers from the 2010 census and known population areas from the 2000 census. I got 1 minute left. As far as drawing that into a larger district, the northern counties of Placer and Nevada are easy and quick pickings to round off those population numbers, and once you get east of Rockland or Roseville, going up the Interstate 80 corridor, I would suggest that you probably have a contiguous community of similar interests, though much more populated, of people who live in the foothills and the mountains. We have snow, we have oak trees, we have pine. We don't have very much farmland. Finally, I'd suggest that the Commission consider the Highway 49 corridor that runs north, I think, as far as Sierra County and swings all the way down to the middle of Madera County, in which a way in which a representative might be able to service that district. I've heard the discussion about media, and that's not too relevant to us up there because most of us don't have television that's available from live feed unless we're on a satellite feed or cable. We get our media, most of our information comes to us much slower through the print, and as has been our experience, the Valley communities, they get to us when they get a chance. Thank you for your service to the state. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. Questions, please?
Please, yes. Can I like to follow up, because we did talk about this, you're right, in Marysville. What were your thoughts? What would your reaction be to deleting the Madera-Fresno part and going further north?
In Madera County, you have Oakhurst and Coarsegold, which are, I would say, are mountain communities. Are fairly high populated. There's the drive down the hill. If you've made it down the 41 down in there, it transitions into farmland as you approach Fresno. I'd say that you'd need that population count or have to go further north. My initial idea is to try to look for the Central Sierra communities, because as you get further and further north, as you know, and you get up towards Grass Valley, Nevada City, up that direction, you're going to be dealing with some folks who are going to say they've got more in common up there. You're not going to get enough of the population in just the counties, the whole counties that I mentioned. I think it's going to be around 300,000 or so. So you're going to have to grab them from somewhere. Coarsegold and Oakhurst came to mind right away because there is so many people in that immediate area. You may have to go as far south, maybe down even to Porterville, which is right on the edge of the foothills down there, to actually find communities that are contiguous by this definition if you were trying to do it.
Yes, Mr. Anchera.
So if you were going to try to put a Senate district together and you had to effectively double the population, which direction would you want to go in?
I'd go north. Again, that's the Highway 49 corridor that I mentioned, Placer and Nevada counties and into Sierra. It's a serviceable road. You can get there all times during the year, and it doesn't close in the wintertime. So, where a representative or senator would have his tasks cut out for him or her, they would at least be dealing with the same type of communities over the entire length of that and would have a road they could drive.
Yes, Ms. Filkins-Weber.
In that regard, what differentiates Mono on there, and why have you distinctly left them out?
Mono and Inyo County are basically inaccessible most of the time. There's only one road across, which is the Yosemite Pass, that is open only half the year. Otherwise, you have to travel north up to 88 or further north, and then all the way down to Tehachapi in that area to swing around to get. Mono and Inyo, you'll learn as you get south, you're much more likely to be drawn down towards San Bernardino in that direction.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that comment. I've been up and down 395 quite a bit in the county, or the cities in that area really do identify, I think, more so with Lancaster.
And you can't get there from here.
You can't get there.
Yeah, I had to explain this to the census when they wanted us to go over and look at a couple houses on the other side of Yosemite. We can't get there from here, not in the wintertime.
Yes, Mr. Julia.
So this is a really interesting proposal. I think we've heard a lot in terms of the people that live in these areas feel like they're unique, and they may have differences based on maybe more of the valley areas. So what I'm hearing is that you feel like even though it may be a geographically large, we're talking about a long strip here,
yeah,
particularly as Mr. Forbes said, if you go into the Senate. But you think that outweighs the fact that maybe someone in the southern part of that is going to be very different still in some ways than someone in the northern part of that, is still better than the differences that you would have between the foothills and the valley?
Yeah, I'd say we have a lot in common with our neighbors north along the 49. I think that we do, and I think you're going to find, and I don't know because you're going up and down the valley, I don't know what other people would say, but we aren't represented nearly in the way that the valley residents are, because we tend to be drawn in, literally drawn into districts as people work their way up the state, and that serves to push us aside as a minority when election cycles come around.
So this was because this was something we heard a little bit when we were in Reading. Was currently districts kind of run north and south. There were some proposals to go east and west. Do you want one representative that'll represent you fully, or do you want a little part of 3 different representatives? So here, your suggestion is kind of the similar thing.
I would feel a representative who was, coming down from Sonora and Calaveras County into Mariposa County, which is where I'm from, would be much more aware of our needs and our community interests. I think when you were in Yuba Sutter, you heard some demographic information was presented to you as well. It's a different population up there. Our schools are all very small. Our communities are very rural, and we're spread out. Of course, that sparse population makes it hard for us to have political clout. That's why my suggestion is that we are a contiguous community when it comes to politics.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to have 2 more speakers, and then we're going to take a short 10-minute break. So could we have number 16?
I'm Elizabeth Grandowski, and I've been a precinct worker for Atwater 9. The main thing that I hear, especially on the congressional district, that we have no representation because of the way it's gerrymandered into Stockton. I suggest that you just make straight lines and keep the politics out and let us have a chance in the elections. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, could you said straight lines?
Yeah, straight lines.
Yes. Could you tell us, what you mean and where?
Well, not snake it.
Yeah, it's almost
gerrymander
like,
up.
It's almost like we heard in Marysville, just draw, life ain't fair, just draw squares. So.
A lot of people just say, why vote anymore?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. It's harder to get workers now.
Yeah. Any questions? Thank you. Yes.
No, I do want to know, actually, without no kidding aside. I understand the issue of the finger, that goes into Stockton, the congressional district. Where are you talking about drawing the line?
I would say cut off the Stockton district because that's the ones that elect our valley for Congress.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. Next speaker, 17. 17, number 18. Number 19.
Hello, my name is Terry Dolph. I live in Madera County, which is the county just to the south of Merced County and just north of Fresno County. I'm a small business owner and founded a company in 1987, video production and engineering. I also serve on the Yosemite Sierra Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. I came here today to speak on behalf of Madera County, or at least the residents of Madera County, and to make sure that we weren't forgotten in this process. I was also interested in how this all works, so I'm here to also observe. Basically, I heard from our Bootjack resident, Mr. Marcus, who was saying that possibly a Madera, Mariposa mountain community would be a good idea moving to the east Sierras. I disagree with that. One of the things Madera is trying to do right now is unify both the Flatlanders and the Hillbillies, as we jokingly call each other, and try to go together as one community, Madera community. And if anything, I would like to see Madera, Merced, and Mariposa counties join together. Of course, the primary reason is to keep Madera County as a whole in an assembly district with our neighbors to the north, agreeing with Mr. Mobley, who spoke from Merced County earlier here today. We're bonded together by agriculture, agrotourism. We have a fossil deposit here just to the south, and of course Yosemite and the Sierras, a lot of natural beauty, and we want to make sure that we unify as a community and are represented properly as a unified community. And I just wanted to thank you for your service to the people of the state of California.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Actually, can I just ask one very quickly? Just with being a representative of Madera, and I'd like to know your thoughts on the larger metropolitan area of Fresno, and if you see that as being a part of Madera, or if you prefer to be more in the, I don't know, with Mariposa and Merced and Tuolumne.
I think to the north better represents the type of people to go north from Madera. Fresno County is very close. Madera County used to be a part of Fresno County until around the turn of the century when it broke away. But I was a television director for 8 years and a news director in Fresno. And so I commuted there quite a bit. I live to the north for a reason. It's a little more sparsely populated, a lot of agriculture, a more easygoing way of life. And I enjoy the mountain community also, because I also have a house up in Oakhurst area. I'm for keeping the counties as a whole, not divided.
Thank you, Terry. All right, let me just give you a little preview. I mentioned earlier that we were going to do a regional wrap-up, mentioning that we've been in San Luis Obispo and Bakersfield and Hanford and now here as a region. So after the meeting, the input session, then we are going to have a meeting to what we call the regional wrap-up. At that time, our consultant Q2 will present an executive summary of what they have heard and captured as information with a focus on competing testimony, some of which we've had here today. So then our consultant will present various scenarios and options, and they will review each of those, and then the commission will provide feedback on perhaps prioritizing some of the scenarios over others in terms of what our understanding of the information has been. So we certainly invite you to join us if you have time. So any comments, questions? So hearing none, then we'll take a 10-minute break. Thanks again for being here with us. They're going to give us some. If you could take your seats, please. We're going to resume the hearing. Okay, I think we're all here except Miss Dye. Get up here. All right. We really appreciate the testimony that has been provided. Certainly, it's very thoughtful and very informative. So, so let's move forward with Speaker 20.
Basically, maybe you're lucky I don't have a map, but I do have